Welcome back, True Texans. Today we are continuing our candidate interview series, and we are interviewing the candidates for Texas Comptroller. We have Don Huffines, Kelly Hancock, and Christi Craddick to bring to you, and then it will be up to you. You have to decide. So let's do it.
We're starting our interviews for Comptroller today with Kelly Hancock. Kelly is currently acting Comptroller, but he used to be my senator, so he and I go way back. Welcome to TTP at Home, Kelly.
Thank you. We go way back.
Way
before the legislature.
Let's not admit how far.
Exactly.
Well, we're glad you're here. It has been hard to get you because you are currently acting Comptroller already. I know, plus you're campaigning all over the state. So I know it's been very busy for you, but there are a couple things that I just wanted to tell you that I really appreciate about you. And the first one is being willing to stand up against Dan Patrick on the dementia bill. I guess it was a bill at the time. Yeah. And you were the only one. And most people don't stand up against Dan Patrick. So,
well, and I had personal experience there. I mean, both my parents passed from dementia. And I mean, y'all have known me a long time. I'm kind of a core function of government, that there are things the government should be doing. And that's really what we need to focus on. So I appreciate it.
The other thing, of course, is that you helped a lot behind the scenes for particularly my daughter and other students eventually that want to be medical students and not vax. And so for those reasons, I'm just excited to have you here. And I just want you to know publicly how much I appreciate the stands that you've taken and the help you've given. So
I appreciate it. And I was thrilled with that too. And a lot of people don't realize we got the rules changed.
Yes.
During session so that you can be a paramedic or an EMT without, even if you have issues where you're not able to be vaccinated.
Like my daughter, yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so we just did that quietly. It wasn't a big piece of legislation. It was just working with the agency to get that done. So
yeah, I mean, still some kinks to be worked out, but
we're
it's
not
major
done.
Progress. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, we're gonna follow up.
Medical freedom. That's what we're after. So thank you. So you're running for Comptroller. You are acting Comptroller, but you're not currently in the lead. So we want to give you the opportunity to tell all the true Texans, why would we pick you over Christi Craddick or Don Huffines?
Well, I think for a lot of the reasons that y'all know, and the governor knew, is, when Glenn Hager went to be chancellor, you need somebody that's familiar with the agency. It is a well-run agency, but it's still bureaucratic. Trust me, I've had my frustrations already.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm doing there. And we had the education savings account, what we call Texas Educational Freedom accounts, in that had to start literally from nothing, much like when I started my business. I had nothing. I didn't inherit millions of dollars to start a business.
Wouldn't that have been nice?
It would have, maybe. There's things you learn going through, right? Suffering brings about character, hope.
You're not wrong.
Right?
Yeah.
Scripture tells us that. And so, starting a business from scratch, which is kind of what we're doing there. Plus, I spent 10 years on that budget writing committee in finance and was selected by Dan Patrick for the Legislative Budget Board, which is the finer tune where you look at the budget in a tighter mechanism. So I'm familiar with the process, familiar with the agency. And then, of course, we can't take for granted, you got to have somebody that's going to win in November. And I don't have a track record of losing. I've never lost a race. My first race with 5 people running, I won without a runoff. And, the Senate race that they just ran, to fill that seat, people forget 4 years ago, I won that 60-40, and the Democrat got 48% of the vote this time. So I think, the governor was looking at a lot of things, the business side of it. The legislative, I have had a successful legislative career, passed over 300 pieces of legislation. And so I think it was the total package. And once I got there, I didn't realize how much I would really enjoy it and have a good time with it. It's still a little political, but it's much more business oriented. We've already adopted a lot of course, the speed of business. We're moving much faster than we were when I first got there. And I'm having fun with it.
Oh, good. Well, I want to talk more about the job and what the responsibilities and such are, but we do always in these interviews talk about the rumors that are out there, or give you an opportunity to kind of squelch things that need attention. So the only thing I found on you was that and I wrote this down because I don't want to get this wrong. Your the top consultant for Sands Casinos is running your campaign. Is that true? And should people be concerned?
No, I mean, I've never supported gaming. Literally probably one of the hardest no's in the legislature on that issue.
Okay.
And
so it's just coincidence. No one needs to be worried that you're trying to bring casinos in.
Right. I needed somebody that had some statewide experience. I never really thought this. I was planning on running for Senate again. Nobody was talking about running against me, so it was going to be a little different than traveling statewide.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'd say
no issue there whatsoever.
Okay.
And I think I've got a track record of, regardless of what those around me might think and believe, I do what I think's right.
Okay.
And I'm not a gaming fan, never have been. So.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me because I do know your background, so that makes sense. But I did want to ask because, if that's the only thing that's really out there that's like a ping against you,
no, I appreciate it.
That says a lot.
That really does.
Yeah.
Yep.
So do you want to jump in?
So the comptroller wears a lot of hats, and a lot of people aren't really aware of it. Can you just give us a brief description of what the job is like? I mean, you're not only running for the job, you're doing the job right now. You have been for the last several months, so you've got a taste for it.
Oh, yeah, and another year ahead of me, regardless.
Regardless of the election.
Till January. So, yeah, and it is the most common thing I have to do is explain essentially the CFO for the state, the chief financial officer. So any financial, the revenue, and we do accountability for the revenue. We audit every agency. That's not new. A competitor that acts like that's a new thing. Auditing is not new.
So you audit every agency every 2 years?
So we rotate them, but there are some red flags. And so when a red flag pops up, we see some things because every transaction comes through our office. So all the grants, we'll issue all the grants. In fact, January, we're going to start with the immigration enforcement grants, just about to complete the rural law enforcement grants. So I've been traveling the state dealing with that. Of course, the education savings accounts, Texas Educational Freedom accounts.
And I didn't realize you'd already started on those, but
oh yeah.
For some reason, I just thought, when the next person is elected, they'll have that responsibility. But you're already on it.
No,
it started for this school year, didn't it?
Right. So those will be ready for the 26-27 school year. So you'll see. We just literally finished the rules, and those are posted on the Secretary of State's website, so that you'll be able to register in the spring, and choose from those listing of schools that are available. And the thing that people all procurement as well. In fact, I was about a month ago asked to sign off on a $4.5 million mainframe. We've not bought that $4.5 million mainframe. I just asked to be brief on it. And, the first briefing I got was, it was approved by the legislature. And I guess that used to work. It just doesn't work anymore. And so we've not bought that. And I've encouraged them to move to a more current form of storing that information and in a language that is not cobalt. And so just because the legislature approves it, I still have the ability to halt and go, no.
That's interesting.
We can do better.
So it's not a legislative position. It's not even necessarily a checks and balance situation, and yet it is kind of.
We have a lot of say, yeah. Okay. And so just because
he has to write checks and he has to balance the check, checks and balances.
Well, and the main thing we do is that revenue estimate. And so, for example, in the revenue estimate for the special, we're working on that.
Tell everybody what the revenue estimate is, because I want to make sure they understand. This is a key role.
So the revenue estimate is the primary role. So we're projecting 2 years out when we do a budget. And so I was part of that for 10 years, where we take that revenue estimate, and then that tells you what you can spend. And so once they spend...
So that's all the revenue for the state of Texas. The tax money coming in, you have to guess what it's going to be for 2 years.
Right. And like this last time we were, with the funds that are left over, we have to be within 1% or less, actually, based on what was spent. So it tells them what they can appropriate. And then when they finished appropriated, at the end of that 5 months, we have to give that final certification. We have to sign off on, all right, we view that over the next 2 years, you'll have revenue to meet your expenditures. And so we have a balanced budget. We have to. And so as we work on the $11.7 billion that we're going to be refunded on our border security, that's not in this budget because it's the federal government. We're not sure when we're going to get that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to always do a very conservative revenue estimate because they can only spend what we anticipate with the revenues coming in. And as you know, I spent 10 years trying to limit the growth of government with population and inflation, which we did to not a lot of fanfare. But to me, that is kind of the front end of it. But now I'm in the position where I can provide that conservative revenue estimate to make sure we have the revenues necessary to run the state and balance the budget.
So let's say you give that estimate, the state ledge, they're going to spend every single penny that you tell them that we have to spend. We know that. And then something happens in that 2 years and the economy takes a turn or there's a big catastrophe, what end of the world as we know it, and we don't have the money. Then you step in, or
we have to address it, and the legislature will have to address it. So that's where the Legislative Budget Board, which I was appointed to as well, they kind of play a role there to kind of what you would do along the way. If we, let's say we provided that, what we call a CRE, so that final, okay, everything y'all appropriated, we think we're going to have the revenue for. Well, if we see 6 months from now, economy slowing down, we will let leadership know and then recommend to the agencies that they not spend all that was appropriated.
Okay.
And we'll look at that on expenditures. We can...
So it doesn't require a special session being called. You have the power to step in and say, whoa,
slow
back
down.
Off.
Yeah. It looks like the revenues are going to be short. We need you to slow down and not spend. And it could be it could be like the mainframe. I mean, 4.5. Well, we're not spending that $4.5 million.
Thank you.
We're not buying a mainframe.
We appreciate that.
Not in 2025, we're not buying a mainframe.
Yeah. Okay, good. There's something else that I saw in the news the other day that the governor had asked you to investigate Texas Southern University. Now, I'm like, why is the comptroller doing that? Like, the role is just so varied. Tell me about that.
Well, because we had before. In fact, in 2019, we saw Texas Southern University had issues. Financial issues, and they've popped up again. And so not only there, but the governor also brought in the Texas Rangers, and the Texas Rangers have asked us, which is how it has to work with cities and counties. And now Texas Southern, because it's a appropriated, it's a state institution, he's able to call us and we can go in directly. With Elgin, where the mayor kind of shrugged off losing $10 million, in order for us to get in there, and we need to work on this, y'all can help me on this. Other states, the Comptroller's office, sometimes it's called the auditor. With cities and counties, the Rangers have to ask me to come in, which they've done. Which we appreciate. But with Texas Southern, we're able to go in there and audit, and we have that history of 2019 where there were issues as well. So we'll be working both in Elgin with the Rangers and Texas Southern, where there are some. So
when it's like a financial fraud potential, that's when they're going to bring you in.
This is pretty significant financial fraud that we'll be looking into at Texas Southern.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll keep our eye on that.
Yeah.
Why don't you share with us, what are your priorities? What are your goals? Let's say you win the election. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Win the election, we will finish really before the election is Texas Educational Freedom Accounts. And so those, we're almost, to the implementation phase on doing that.
Good.
And then we'll continue to do what we've already done is we'll continue to operate and transition to more of a business type approach, more of a business speed. A lot of my background, I worked in the corporate world for many years before I went off on my own and was responsible for 5 different businesses. Well, this is much larger, a lot more zeros, but the same type of approach. And so we've already put up monitors. We want to be more transparent and accountable. We put out what's called Tech Stats, TEXSTATS, because we hold all that information on geographic information, demographic information, educational information, sales tax. And so we made that online now.
Available to anybody.
Everybody, every Texan can access it. So it's just TEX STATS. And literally, we broke the state into regions. And it's just an effort to be more transparent and be held accountable. The more transparent you are, the more accountability flows with it. And so working on that, and you can literally compare with how we're doing versus the nation, how we're doing versus the state. When it comes to industries, when it comes to education in an area, for example, in South Texas, where SpaceX is and a lot of cool things happening, the average age there is nearly 5 years younger than the state average.
Really?
Which is kind of cool.
Okay, so all of our single people need to head down
to South Texas. Yeah. And then, when we were out in Northeast Texas, we have 8 times the trailer manufacturing in Northeast Texas. So just kind of, and great for economic development. When businesses look, they can click, they can use this a tool to look and say, all right, what is the education in North Texas? And, what's the industry in North Texas? So we just want to be more transparent and accountable and move faster. When you're an entrepreneur, you move fast. It's just the only way you survive.
Right.
And so we're trying to implement that, and we are implementing. We're seeing that I'm a numbers guy, so they've learned very quickly in the agency that I want to see my metrics. Don't tell me you're doing a good job. Show me.
Yeah.
In fact, we put up 3 monitors, and I can look any day now and see what the rig count is, what the sales tax, and how it compares. So it's a dashboard, also a separate one that's the financial side, where I can look and see how the state's doing, how we're performing on any given day. And it's real-time information. So, we within my first 30 days, I signed off on a new financial system. Our financial system, kind of the backbone of the agency, was from 1990. And so I signed off on that. Now, that'll take some time to implement throughout the agency, but it's so that we can provide better information and faster.
Okay.
So
it does look to me, and maybe Fran can affirm that, but it does seem like you're well suited to this and you enjoy it. So if you can do what you love doing.
Yeah, I'm having way more fun than somebody working 12, 15 hours a day should have. Yeah.
I used to love watching you in those Senate hearings about property taxes. He was great at grilling people that were whining about not having enough property tax money.
My background as a school board member.
Yes.
A buddy and I, we lowered property taxes on the school board, which administration hated because they don't, just like our bond issues that they keep stacking on top of it, you never see the reduction. But I voted for a reduction as a school board member, much to the chagrin of many in administration, because they don't want see a decrease. They're afraid they'll never raise it again, which is why we see so many bond issues. In fact, I get asked, what's your greatest concern? It is local debt.
Yes, talk about that. I think everybody needs to hear that.
We lead the nation in local debt.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
It's and we'll never, my concern is you'll never see the end of it, because you and I, when we pay off a home, pay off a car, we have increased cash flow, right? You don't have that payment anymore.
Right.
Which means you can, you can do with a little less revenue, or you can, it gives you some flexibility to do other things with that revenue. Well, the problem is local entities never want to see you pay off debt because it lowers the tax rate. And sometimes it lowers it significantly. So what do? They just stack more debt on top of it.
Yeah.
So the debt load from local government is, while the state, we're doing great. I mean, our office, we hadn't borrowed money a long time, and our investments are doing really well. I also sit on those boards. But local debt is some of the highest in the nation. And my concern is that unless we do something to force taxpayers to actually see that those bonds, that debt paid off, and see their taxes drop, that it's just going to stay at that level unless we do something.
I often counter the arguments for school bonds when people say, oh, the children need it or whatever it is, especially when the school board says this bond will not increase your tax rate. And I always say, yeah, but if we don't pass the bond, they could lower the rate, which of course they rarely ever do, but they should, because that constant it's like forever refinancing your mortgage. It really is.
But
it hurts the children.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not for the children. It hurts their future.
Yeah, it continues it so that you as property owners, especially businesses, I mean, we talk a lot about homes.
Mhm.
You and I have had the discussion. My concern is we'll destroy our economy
Yes.
and leading the nation if all we focus on is homeowners and
Yes. Oh,
business
don't get me
owners
started.
suffer.
I get so mad because they only ever give tax breaks to owner occupants, and all those renters are paying for everybody else. Everybody's discount means renters go up.
I may have known I would get your
Yes,
attention
yeah,
on that
you got
one.
my attention. So I think that's great. I think anytime you can have a statewide official calling attention to these issues that people just, I mean, we just passed more bonds. Like we just had an election and everybody voted, yes, tax me more. And I'm like, are you an idiot?
Well, worse than that, we passed what's called a TRE that gives a school district in North Texas that considers themselves very, very conservative. They raised their own taxes, which someone who's voted for $90 billion and to reduce property taxes, it irritates me.
It irritated me too.
When I see the efforts that we're making at the legislative level, the efforts the governor's making and and prioritizing it, and then we have a small group of voters just voted themselves a tax
it's a big
increase.
One too. We're talking about Rockwall for anybody who's not aware, but
more than one.
Yeah, it's
okay, that's the one I get. I hear the most
we have
about.
South Lake as well.
South Lake Carroll.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know South Lake did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't know
It's
that.
just irritating when you work so hard to help businesses and homeowners by spending $90 billion of all Texans, right? This is all Texans' money, not ours. It's not government money. We have no money. We use Texas tax dollars to help buy down property taxes, and yet local districts turn around and raise their own property taxes after all the work we've done.
And we should also point out, because some of our viewers may not know this, that when we increase the homestead exemption for school taxes, whatever lost revenue to the schools, the state backfills that with state money, which is our money.
Exactly. We're using your money, taxpayer dollars, come together through general revenue to buy down that local property taxes.
Yes.
And yet then they turn around with all of the effort and vote for an increase on themselves, and then they'll complain to us as legislators
so
that their taxes are going up.
Regardless, they're paying it either way. It was whatever bucket it's coming out of.
We're all paying.
Taxpayers are paying for it and deceived into thinking I got a break, and I did.
Yeah. I think Denton ISD passed one too, didn't? I know they put one on the ballot. Maybe it didn't pass.
I don't know. We did defeat a few of them, a handful of them.
Yeah. It's just irritating.
Yes, in so many ways. So anyway, great to have your expertise with us to talk about these things because people just really need to be educated. But we are out of time for your interview. So I would love it if you would just tell people how they can find you, maybe last words, what you want the voters to know. Yeah,
no, I appreciate it very much. The best way to get in touch with us is kellyhancock.com. It's KELLYHAN. That's COCK.com. And you can register there. It tells you all about our family, my lovely wife, who I've known since kindergarten.
Wow.
And our six, going to be, I guess we already have seven. The seventh one's just not coming until March. Grandkids that all great kids and great family. And the history school board, where we first met for 13 years, and before Governor Abbott asked me to assume this role, which I have enjoyed and love, and will be the only experienced candidate, and be the only candidate with who's put together a budget, a balanced budget, the only candidate who passed limiting the growth of government to population and inflation. And so we just ask for your support and look forward to serving you. That's all I really want to do is serve other people.
All right. And be happy doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank
We've
you.
appreciated the conversation.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Hi, today we'd like to welcome Don Huffines, a true friend of True Texas Project and a longtime supporter. Now he is running for Comptroller of the state of Texas, so we want to hear what he has to say about that. Welcome, Don.
Thank you, friend. It's great to be here. Hello, Julie.
Hello. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
We're going to kick it off with, I don't think it's going to be that hard of a question, but it's a question that we probably need to address.
Yeah.
And that is, you ran for governor.
Yes.
And most of the true Texans were supporting you. We thought we had this, and we didn't. So what's different in this campaign? They're both statewide campaigns. How are we going to win this one?
Well, very good question. And I'll tell you how we're going to win. One thing that's significantly different is there's no incumbent. And it's really hard. Look, we knew the governor's race was difficult.
Yes.
I mean, we were trying to knock out a Republican incumbent. He'd been there a long time, actually been in politics 20 or 20 plus years when we ran against him. And that had never been done. But I think we made him a much better governor. That's another topic. And I think we made Texas a lot better for that campaign. And thank you very much for the support, by the way, and all the followers and members of True Texas. Thank you very much for all that support. But this is really different. This is an open seat, and it's regular scheduled primary, March 3rd. So I want to make sure everybody understands that. Early voting's into February. And the comptroller position is number 5 on the ballot. So I'm encouraging everybody to keep going all the way down to number 5. You got U.S. Senate, governor, lieutenant governor, Texas attorney general, then comptroller.
Okay.
But we learn from our experiences also.
Yeah.
And I've deployed a lot more capital in this race. We've got to have more money, even though we spent a lot on that race. And we've got different consultants in this race, and I'm very excited about it.
Okay.
I came out of the gates on fire, as you know, and in March, and as soon as our current comptroller left for a better job, and we've just got great endorsements. I'm just very excited about the race.
That was actually one of my questions. Is let's talk about some of those endorsements, because I know it's a pretty long list.
It is, and if I don't have it in front of me, please excuse all those that have endorsed me.
I can relate.
We don't have enough time to name all of them.
Yeah, we don't have to. We'd be here all day on that one, but I can really hit the highlights. And Ted Cruz came out quite early for me and shot a video for me, and the senator is the number one endorsement really you can have in the state of Texas, particularly for the grassroots, I think. And Vivek Ramaswamy, creator of Doge. My campaign is to Doge Texas, and he's one of the creators. So he came out, and he's running for governor of Ohio, but he came out early for me. Ron Paul endorsed the campaign. Matt Gaetz, Riley Gaines, and I could go a lot of national MAGA figures have endorsed the campaign, but I'll go back to the state level. One that I'm really proud of is I have 75% of the SREC.
Oh,
wow. And that is huge. I mean, these are the men and women that have their eyes and ears and boots on the ground, from every Texas Senate district. Yeah. And that's unprecedented in a competitive primary that we can find. I have National Committee man, or Dr. Robin Armstrong, and National Committee woman, Debbie Jargalis. And I even have the vice chairman, the former vice chairman of the Republican National Committee. And so that's Tommy Hicks. He's a huge fan of mine. So I'm very excited about that. And one I say with a heavy heart that I have is Charlie Kirk.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm one of the few. This is one of the few campaigns. A statewide campaign to endorse for Charlie is extremely rare, very, very unusual for him. But I've known him for many years, and so he was 100%. He just wants me to win so bad. So I'm focused on that for him also.
Okay. Good to know. Before we move off of the campaign, we'll get to some meat. Do you want to say anything about your two opponents?
Well,
how do you differ from them? Why would someone choose you over them?
Well, first, besides these, look, let me just say this about my endorsements. I didn't mention every conservative organization in the state of Texas has endorsed my campaign, whether it's Texas Right to Life, Eagle Forum, Grassroots of America, Gun Owners of America, Moms for Liberty. I mean, Moms for America. I mean, I could just go down the list. There's so many. But the point I want to bring that up that's different from me is that those people, from my opponents, is those groups have boards. Homeschool Coalition, all of them, Tim Lambert, they all have boards, and they know that they evaluate the candidates how they think they could trust them, how they think they're going to respond to the demands of the office, which is huge. I mean, Kevin Roberts, the CEO of Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C., has endorsed the campaign. Genevieve Collins, state director for AFP, Americans for Prosperity, has endorsed the campaign. These folks know that I am the candidate and I will make a great comptroller. The candidate is going to make the biggest difference for Texas. I'm a businessman. And that is my focus in my life has been Jesus, family, and business. I mean, that's just in that order. And I love business. And so I'm bringing the talents I learned in the private sector to the public sector.
And so you're running against Hancock and
Craddick.
Christi Craddick.
And are either of them from the business world?
Kelly Hancock is, Christi not.
Okay.
But she look, here's the other thing. I'm the MAGA candidate. And if you like Trump, you're going to love me. I mean, I think I was Trump before Trump.
Anyway, you're Trump before Trump was cool.
I kind of look at it that way. But because I've been a supporter of the president for a long time. As soon as he won the nomination at 16, I was all in for him. In 20, 24, I bundled money for him. I raised money for him. I tweeted for him. I endorsed him every way I could. And then I've got my opponents who've been in office a long time. And they've got social media presence, and there's really no record of them ever donating to the president, donating to the state party, endorsing the president. Even after he won the nominations, they did not have ever come out and endorse the president. And there's some criticism they've made over the years against the president. So I think there's a lot of difference that separates us.
Yeah. Let's talk about something you already alluded to, and that's Doging Texas. Why don't you tell people what that means and what specifically that means to you, to that office?
Yes, absolutely, Julie. It's funny. It's a verb now. Nobody ever heard of it, right? And all since January of last year, February, and Trump. I just think I'm going to bring Trump's sense of urgency to Texas. That's what I love about Trump. He's not this second administration. He's not waiting around for anything. And he gets Elon Musk in there and all those brainy guys and older and younger, and they plug it in. The AI tells them where all of our money went. Well, I'd like to know where our money goes. And I think most Texans would like to know where our money goes.
There's a lot of it.
We're spending over $500 million a day.
A day.
All funds considered, every single day.
Which is more than most of us can really even comprehend.
It really is beyond imagination. And that's $350,000 every minute of every day. Well, we really spend more than that, but that's all funds. All of that comes through the comptroller's office. And when I say Doge, okay, it's not just looking at adding up the revenue and the expenses and doing an audit. Do they match and things like that? I've done that, and I put people in jail for cheating and all that. We can talk about that. This is about looking at every agency. Are they staffed correctly? Do we have the right number of FTEs? Are they still performing what they were supposed to be doing when this legislature created those agencies? Are they obeying state law with DEI and all the other things? Every university is a state agency, and there's over 200 state agencies. All those really have to come through the comptroller's office, and everybody comes to the comptroller's office to get their check. But so Doging is comprehensive, and it's about educating the taxpayers about where our money's going.
And it's more than just about saving money. Like you said, you're going to be looking at efficiencies. Are they doing what they were set up to do? One of the things that frustrates me is all these things that are set up with a sunset, and yet they are never sunsetted because they just keep, rolling it forward. So I'm personally glad to hear that.
Well, Fran, you're totally correct. Sunset's been a disaster. Yeah. Nothing's ever sunsetted. And when I was in the legislature, and I thought that was amazing that they had just softballs right over the plate every session, that they could get rid of agencies and departments, but no, they just keep them going. And
because government never shrinks; it only grows.
Totally true. And I asked this simple question: who runs Texas? Is it the legislature, the governor? And the answer is no and no. It's the bureaucrats.
It's the bureaucracies. Yes.
Bureaucracies. Same in Washington, D.C. And Texas isn't immune from that.
Mm-mm.
And the legislature, as we all know, only meets every other year and they really only 140 days, and they work about 60 of it. And that's about right.
Mm-hmm.
They're not watching over that stuff. And so another thing I'll point out for me, I'm a business guy, and is politics and business, I learned when I was in the Senate, are real different. They just really are. The last thing we really need is more committees, more study groups, and there's Abbott's got them a Doge committee and things like that. And and the comptroller's office is full of committees. I'm a one-man committee. The last thing I need is to sit around a table with 11 other people and discuss something for several months, and then no one's responsible for implementing the solutions, and they never come up with any. The buck stops on my desk as comptroller. I'm 100% accountable. I'll make the decisions, and they're going to be good decisions. But if they're not, I'm going to admit it and own it, and we're going to learn from our mistakes, and we're going to move on. But we're moving fast.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure Texas changes. And we're going to change the culture of Texas by making sure it's responsible to the taxpayer. And that's fundamental to me, is that I'm doing this for the taxpayer. And that culture is going to change in Austin. The halo effect of what I'm going to communicate is going to encompass every legislator in Austin. I'm convinced of that.
You're going to be facing some big challenges. Whoever is comptroller will be facing some big challenges in the next couple of years because of some of the really big stuff that has passed the legislature. I mean, school choice is just one of the first examples I can think of. But I read a lot of legislation, and so much of it says that the comptroller will set up a process and to administer this program. So do you see that as a difficulty or a challenge or something you're ready to take on?
Oh, it's a huge challenge. Let's be real. The comptroller's office, can I just tell you a little bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
About it, because it really is massive. It has over 3,000 employees. It has offices in all the major metropolitan areas. The comptroller's office is in charge of collecting all the revenue the state brings in, every fee, fine, and tax. And And it's also, of course, the revenue estimator for the legislature. That's the main purpose of it when the Cowboys set it all up in our Constitution, the state Constitution. Let me point out something else that I think is important for everyone to understand. The comptroller doesn't report to the legislature. It doesn't report to the governor. The comptroller reports to the people. And the founders of our state wanted it that way. My responsibility is to the taxpayer, to the voters, not to the government. And I'm the watchdog for that. And that also changes the culture, like I just mentioned. But the comptroller has in charge of all the credit card systems, non-payroll systems, 150,000 credit cards. The comptroller's in charge is also the procurement officer for all the state agencies, which in about 1,500 local governments use the comptroller's office to buy stuff, to be the procurement officer. School choice program is 100% up to one individual, the comptroller. All the rules and regulations are set by the comptroller. So we've got the Texas Property Assistant Division, and that has a lot to do with property tax. It trains the appraisers. It puts out the manuals for the property tax. It handles really all of that, a lot of it. And that's run by Shannon Murphy runs that. And the procurement office is, we also have a total DEI project in that. It's called Historically Underutilized Businesses. And they spend over $4 billion contracting out for really DEI contractors annually. So, and that's run by a guy named Bobby Pounds. But look, first thing I'm going to do is doge my own agency. That's day one. That's what's happening. I'm going to doge the agency.
It kind of makes you wonder, why would anybody want this job?
I know. It
when
sounds
you talk about the
monstrous.
enormity of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
That's a very good
But
point.
I love when you say that you don't answer to the governor or the lieutenant governor,
Right.
you answer to the people, which makes me feel better because I already know that you ran against Abbott, so you're not going to have trouble standing up to Abbott if the time came.
Well, I'm going to work with the governor, and I'm going to work with the lieutenant governor and the legislature every way I can.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm here to represent the taxpayer first and foremost. I'll have open houses for the members. They can come in and talk to me, because one thing that I recognized when I was in the Senate was how few members really understand the budget. Really none. They're just listening to LBB, and Legislative Budget Board comes in and says, this is what we're doing. Are you really going to go back there and audit that and figure out, is that really right? Are they telling the truth? And then a lot of things go in supplemental budgets, and they're off budget items now. All these direct funds and funding is off, doesn't apply to the spending caps. So one of the first things I'm going to do is change all that. I want it so not only do the members understand it crystal clear, but the average Texan needs to
That's how it should
understand it.
be.
Yeah, I get a headache when I start talking about the budget. And I never attend those hearings because I don't understand it. I don't have anything to offer. I just have to trust those people voting on
gosh.
it.
Yes.
And I don't.
That's scary.
I mean, I agree with you. I don't think they know and understand it either. So
They don't. I can tell you.
It's very frustrating.
It very, very much so. And it's frustrating at the very beginning because the foundation of it's a biennium budget, which is every other year. And and sometimes they talk annual, sometimes they talk biennium, and you're like, wait a minute, what? And then I wonder if I'm exploring the process when I'm there to see if we can't really just put everything annualized, because that's how the average Texan looks at their books.
Yeah. And
You know,
it
what
shouldn't
we
be that
spend
hard to
annually.
take a biennial budget and say, okay, half of it is this year and the other part is this year, and deal with them
One would think.
so that we can understand what's going on.
I think it's by design.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Oh,
Everything
well.
is by design
They don't
for
miss a
me in
thing,
the
yeah.
legislature. They make it difficult for people like me and Julie and average people to understand what's going on and be able to deal with it.
Well, that'll change
For
as soon
sure.
as I win.
So I know that last time you held a political office, you did not take a salary. Is that going to be the same, or what are your thoughts there?
Well, that's very true, Julie. According to the Secretary of the Senate, I'm the only elected office holder that they could find in Texas history that never took a penny from the government. Not just a salary, which isn't much, but the per diem, the pension plan, the health care system, reimbursements, travel vouchers, nothing. Not one penny. I even bought my own office furniture. I didn't want to use theirs. But I'm going to do the same as Comptroller. And to me, it's a matter of principle, because the government didn't hire me. The people hired me. I work for the people, and I'm going to make sure that stays the same. And I'm never going to take any money from the state of Texas as Comptroller.
So when you were a senator and you shut down the Dallas school board or something, whatever that was, does that relate? Like, is that something we can expect from you? Like finding those things that, I don't know, address that.
Amen.
Okay.
You can expect a lot.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, like a lot. That's one reason I want to run for. I'm running for Comptroller because of my love of Texas, but is because I have the experience when I was in the Texas Senate, as you mentioned, of digging into a government agency that nobody wanted to talk about or deal with. It was in Dallas County. My district was just Dallas County, the north half of the county, District 16, and they had thousands of employees, 2,500 employees at least, way over $100 million annual budget. And they had a property tax on the tax bill, and they had an elected countywide board. And it wasn't Dallas Independent School District. It was called Dallas County Schools, a 100-year-old organization. They provided some bus services, a lot of bus services for some of the ISDs. But the bottom line was they could never answer my financial questions. And I said, well, I just went over there, what do y'all do? I just asked a simple question, like, what do you really do here? And they would say that, well, do you mind if we look at your financial reports? And they did. they didn't want me to see any of it. And so I had these hearings in Austin over 3 years, and whatever information we got was always changing. And in bottom, I won't go into all the details. I got the Texas Rangers involved, Dallas DA, then we gave the file to the FBI. 6 people pleaded guilty, and they were stealing millions of dollars, not hundreds of thousands, but millions.
Stealing from the taxpayers.
All taxpayer money.
Yeah.
And including the mayor pro tem of the city council of Dallas. He got 7 years for taking bribes. And I shut him down. I got a bill done in Austin to shut him down overnight, which was very difficult because the crooks spent $1.3 million hiring the best lobbyists they could find to stop my forensic audits and to
with
stop
taxpayer money. They hired those
100%
lobbyists.
taxpayer money. That's why we need get rid of taxpayer funded lobbyists.
Thank you. Yes, we do.
And we don't talk about that. We think with good reason because they kill our conservative legislation, of course. But it's also they cover up corruption with it.
Yes, I try to stress that. That's been the number one priority for me personally for 3 or 4 sessions now. And we still can't get it done because of the House.
Right.
Yes. I did want to add on just a little bit on that, is that that group was spending a year what the state of Texas spends in 9 hours. And have you heard of anyone going to jail in Austin, Texas?
No.
Well,
No.
I've heard a lot of DWIs and
Yeah. Besides cocaine and DWIs and all that stuff, I'm talking about financial issues.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not saying anybody's guilty of anything, but I'm going to have a very robust system to find out.
And I'm hoping then that you have a bodyguard.
Well, actually, believe it or not, the Comptroller's office has its own police force.
Oh,
Really?
Yes, it
I
does.
did not know that.
stepped right into that. I didn't even know it.
Yeah, we have 3,000 employees, 550 auditors. They're trying to get it up to over 600 auditors. It's really comprehensive at what it does.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, we are like right on the edge here. We need to wrap up. But is there anything I want to make sure you give your website, but anything else you want to make sure everybody knows about your campaign or your goals or whatever?
Well, I appreciate that, Julie. Look, there's a lot of things. I do want people to know that I'm doing this for the right reasons. I'm not trying to get a new job. I don't need a new job. And I've got a great life, 38 years to perfect Mary Catherine. Got 10 grandbabies, 2 more on the way, 5 children. We homeschooled them throughout their schooling career, and so they could grow up in a good Christian conservative environment. And but I'm doing this because of Texas. We got to make it the best we can make it.
That's why we do it.
And it's an underappreciated position. I'll say this. No one likes cleaning out the garage. Nobody wants to do that. But you sure like pulling in when it's done.
That's right.
Done.
And that's what Dogen, Texas is. And it takes somebody with courage and the credibility that's done it before. And that is me.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. Fran, did you have any other questions?
Just tell us your website where people can find more information about you.
Of course. DonHuffines.com. That's Don Huffines, Huffines, DonHuffines.com. And please go there and make a donation. Any amount, $10 is great. 10 million's even better. But there's no campaign limits in Texas. But please go there and sign up for an endorsement, volunteer. And this is a ground-up campaign. It's the way I want it. Don't rely on us to tell you what to do. You can do whatever you think you need to do. Like I always say, you want to hang a bed sheet off the overpass, vote for Huffines on weekends. That's great, too. But we got to get everybody involved. It's a team sport. It really is. And thank you guys for having me.
Very good. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate it. Good luck on the campaign.
Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. We are interviewing this time Christi Craddick. She is running for Comptroller along with at least 2 other candidates, I believe. Yeah, Don Huffines and
Kelly Hancock.
I'm so sorry. Okay. So, but today we're focused on Christi Craddick. And I think that you have probably some pretty good name recognition because you've been in politics for a while. Why don't you give us some of your background? Like, where did you come from? What have you done so far for Texas?
So, thank you for having me first and foremost. It's nice to be here. So this is a great job, but you're right, I've been serving and really it is about service, I think. So I am now 13 years in. I guess, at the Railroad Commission, which for those...
Wow, are you serious?
Yes. I ran in 2012.
Okay. Time flies.
2012. It's been a while. It's the first time we met.
Yeah.
That's how old my daughter is too, by the way. So that gives you an idea. Wow. It's been a while. So I'm now 12, almost really 13 years in. And when I ran the first time for the Railroad Commission, my thought was we needed somebody who would pay attention, understood oil and gas because it's really important for the state, and would go fix an agency. We had IT that was very old, and we were on a mainframe Fortran. We're almost to cloud, by the way. We've made a lot of real progress. And it was taking 90 days to get a drilling permit out. We now can do it in 48 hours.
Oh, wow.
Very, very deliberate about fixing things, doing it with the dollars you had available, not overspending, not overregulating. And so I've been there for a while. It's been a great place. And I love the Railroad Commission. And part of the reason I think this is a good fit for me, running for comptroller, first and foremost, when you look at the three of us, I'm the only one who's run statewide now 3 times.
I thought that was really interesting. I saw that maybe people don't know that we have you guys fill out questionnaires before we do these interviews. And you mentioned that. And I was like, wow, that's worth something.
It is. And the last couple of times I've been one of the highest vote getters in the state. And so, we all joke, well, you go to Austin and that's fine, but you better get out of Austin. And so I travel a lot because it's not in Austin what's going on in the real world. It's out. And so we spend a lot of time on the road. I think and hearing what people want, what their values are, making sure our values stay. Look, I grew up in Midland. We're pretty conservative over there anyway. But I haven't gotten real liberal and haven't bought into the Austin bureaucracy. I think you've got to do your job and be responsive to people. So when I was looking at the opportunity of the Comptroller's office, to me, a third of the state's economy has been oil and gas. I know that sector pretty well. The last year, $27 billion came in from the oil and gas sector into this state. That's a lot of money. And what the comptroller does is, as you may or may not, as people may or may not know, it's the CFO of the state. So you've got to know, you bring in the taxes, but you know where you're spending it, and you're doing, so you've got to know the dollars, and you've got to know the state well. And I think that's a natural fit for us at this point.
Okay. I mean, it seems to relate. So I can appreciate that. One question I have, and I don't want to throw you for a loop, but in our circles, when I'm talking to people about this race, we're not just talking Republican versus Democrat, but a lot of times we're arguing grassroots versus establishment. Mm-hmm. And you're always thrown into the establishment barrel, whether it's true or not. So I want to hear your response to that. Like, why would people say that? How true is it?
I don't know why they say that, by the way. And look, I've got great conservatives and been a conservative my whole life. It's for those people who don't know, my dad was the first Republican speaker. So I've been in the world and helped grow the Republican Party and the conservative part of the Republican Party my whole life, because that's what I know, and we serve as a family. That's part of what we do. I'm not sure why we're thrown in one pile or another, but I've always had good conservatives endorse me. Okay. And it's not just about endorsements. I think I have good conservative ideals too. And so that's really important to me to keep those ideals and make sure that that's what an agency looks at too. It isn't. So,
are you thinking conservative fiscally or socially, or both?
Both, by the way.
Okay.
Conservative fiscally because I run an agency that way, but conservative socially. Look, I am pro-life and have been my whole life. I'm a Catholic. That is my values. I grew up in those values. That is my values. Mm-hmm. We have guns. We do all what I would consider the social stuff. I mean, I was talking to somebody and they said, we'd like to do something on September 1st. Went, wrong. Opening day. This is not what we're going to do. Right. So I mean, I think both ends of the spectrum, but the fiscal piece is really important because, look, I'm a taxpayer. I'm a single mom. I run a household. What I bring in is what we have at my house.
Right.
And we talk about it around my table. So I tell this story, and it's a true story. When my daughter was learning to read, we were driving down the street and it was Beto, Beto, Beto. We all remember that race, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we're driving and she's learning to read. So we're reading all the signs as we drive. And she said, Beto, Beto, are we for Beto? And I said, no, we're not for Beto. Who are we for? Well, we were for somebody who didn't put any signs out that year, but that's okay. But that being said,
most of us are going to know what you're talking about.
Right. I said, it doesn't matter. And she said, why are we for him? And I said, well, you get an allowance. This is a 4-year-old, I guess, at that point. And she said, yes. And I said, well, you like to do things and choose what you do with your allowance, right? And she said, yes, it's my money. And I went, right. Beto believes he's going to take half your allowance and do what he wants to with it. And she said, that's not fair. And I said, that's why we're Republicans. Right. Yeah. And so that's how I believe, and that's what we're teaching at my house. And that's how I grew up.
Yeah.
We're small business owners in my family. That's how I grew up. You've got to have a budget. You've got to believe and walk the walk and talk the talk of what you believe.
I think being a small business owner is very significant. That's so right. What was that?
So for me, I'm an attorney by training. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I've ever wanted to practice day to day, but I think it was a good way to, one, help me think through problems, but also at the time when I was going to school, an additional piece of education gave women some credibility, and I thought that was important to have. Mm-hmm. So when I got out of law school, I opened my own law practice, and I opened a grassroots company. And so that grassroots company is still sitting in case I want to activate it again. Mm-hmm. And grassroots a little different than you, more on the corporate end of the grassroots world. Mm-hmm. But I think it's important to go out and explain what your position is and get people engaged and be part of the community. I don't think you can just show up and say, hello, I'm here.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask you one more hard question, and then I'm going to let Fran take. I think Fran might have gentler questions. I don't know, maybe not. Usually it's good cop, bad cop. So that's how we play. You mentioned that your family is service-minded. Like you believe you should be serving the state, the community, whatever. But there are a lot of people that aren't happy with how long your dad, it's like 60 years, has been in the state house. And a lot of people are like, term limits, come on.
Not quite 60.
Okay, it was a long time. Longer than since I've been born. I know that.
So, longer than I've been born, by the way.
Yes. Yes. So what would you say to that?
So look,
I mean, that's not you. I get that's him, not you.
And I appreciate that. And I think, one, if you're a state rep, you get elected in your own district. And if you are not doing your job, your community's going to vote you out. And I think that even this last cycle, I watch what he's done. He's still very active in the House. He's still, he's from Midland, Texas. Mm-hmm. He gets out, he communicates, he's still involved. And so I don't, and having that history as they're sitting there going through another special session, it's nice to have the statesman who understands we've tried some things, we haven't tried some things. These work, these don't. Let's try it again and let's educate the next piece. So I think as a mentor, he has become, he's a good mentor for people as well. So look, if they want to move to Midland, Texas and vote him out, that's their business. Yes. But I do think having history, knowledge of the process, and still being engaged in your community is important. It doesn't matter if you're We consider being an elected official in my family as service to the community. Look, I'm involved with other nonprofits and other organizations too, in my church and in my daughter's school. Mm-hmm. But this is how my family gives back. Whereas you get my mother, she'd love to be out of politics some days, and she's got two of us, right? But my mother's on the hospital board, and she's involved with mental health and doing cancer and things like that. Healthcare is her passion. So she sits on other, and when my brother and I were both in school, was below. We were blessed that she could be a stay-at-home mom. She was the president of both PTAs one year, two different schools. So we all have given back in our own way, and this is how my dad and I give back in our communities.
Okay, so there are two other people in this race, as Julie already mentioned, Huffines and Hancock. Mm-hmm. They're both H's.
That's I'm going to remember it that way.
Huffines and Hancock. Anyway. And of course, Don Huffines has said that he can write a personal check for whatever it takes to win this race. Tell us how you see yourself as best qualified of the three, and what sets you apart from the other two?
So that's a great question. So look, I don't think any race is all about money, by the way.
It's not, for sure.
And especially if you're writing your own check, I really don't think it's all about money. I think you've got to go out. And why am I best qualified? As I said, I won 3 statewide races, and I have worked hard to continue to develop relationships across the state. And I've won those. Last cycle, I was in a primary race with 4 primary opponents, and I won without a runoff. So that says something that people appreciate, that I work hard.
Yeah.
2, I think it has to do with ideas. It's about money. It's about communicating well. It's also about traveling and talking about what you're for and what you aren't for. So I think right now, when we're watching, we've kind of laughed. My campaign team doesn't love it. But when we're putting things out on social media, we've got one of the other 2 candidates, like within 24 hours, just putting the same thing back out and is cribbing our stuff. That happened when I ran for the Railroad Commission. If you go back and look, the first time I had a platform that we put out, and by the time we finished, everybody was saying my platform. I'm like, well, because we have those ideas, but not only did I have ideas, but we followed through on those ideas and said what I said I was going to do. So I think that's part of why it's important to have conversations, to sit at the table so people get to know you, they understand who you are, and they understand what your ideas are about.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we do this, is so that our viewers can get to know you and the other candidates. Obviously, we'll be giving a chance to the other candidates as well. That leads me to another question. I noticed in your questionnaire that you answered, we always ask, what are your top 3 priorities if you win this position? And your first one was to do a statewide audit of the agency. Of the agency, yes. Not other agencies, just the Comptroller's office. So I think you've got to start with yourself first, right? Okay. So first, to me, go in and audit yourself. Go in and audit an agency. Who are the people you have? What are the resources? Are you spending money well? Are you not? I think you've got to audit yourself before you can then take the next step and go look at what other agencies are doing, what other local governments are doing. So I think you've got to go in and assess yourself first. But would you plan then, once you've done that within your own agency, would you take that to other state agencies?
So we do. So here's kind of the thought behind my audit process. 1, we have a state auditor. And they do their job, and that's fine. But years ago, we used to go in as the comptroller and look at local government agencies and groups and say, how are you spending your money? And so let's say you're getting ready to have a bond in your community, a bond election, and whether it's school board, city council, pick a local government entity. Mm-hmm. You call the comptroller's office and they say, let's come in and do an audit of how that local entity is using your dollars. I'm going to pick on schools because we're all concerned where our dollars go, and I have a 13-year-old. So I think about schools every day. So I want to go in and audit that school district, see where their dollars are going. Are they using them effectively? Are they going to where they're supposed to go? Is there waste? Is there fraud? Let's look at that entity. Then let's be transparent about what we find and put it out. You, the voter, ought to know where your dollars are going, in my opinion, not just locally, but all across the board. And then you, because it gives you local control. You don't like what they're doing, you can vote against that bond. Or you can go out and vote against the member that proposed the bond, right? I think it gives it. So I do think being more transparent with all levels of government, and the comptroller has the ability to do some of that. I think that's going to be an important piece of doing this job.
I think we would all agree with that. And I think that sort of an audit would be well received by citizens and taxpayers. The local governments themselves, not so much, but, more.
But if they're honest about it, they might like it. Yeah. If you're a good elected official and they are trying to do what I believe is what they think is the right thing, they may ask us to come do it.
They might. Another priority you had was your government efficiency task force. Can you tell us a little bit?
That's a little bit about this local government. Okay. Yes, ma'am. And look, I think there's also, historically, this was used several years ago, and we have this thought process about how you go look at audits and what you do with other agencies or other groups has gone away. And I think it's a tool that the comptroller ought to use. And they've been known, the comptroller was known several years ago, and I think there's not a bad idea to go look at certain state agencies. Are they using the dollars how they're appropriated to? Not just does the state auditor do it, but you go in, it's a lot of money that's sitting out there.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing with this money? What are you using it for? I think the more transparency we have in government and the more it's published and people understand where their dollars are going, look, we're going to find some cost savings that ought to go back to me, the taxpayer. Maybe my taxes stay down first and foremost. And you give that information, not just to you, the taxpayer, but then you've got the legislators who are the policymakers. They need to know where the money is. They need to really understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
And when you're there for 180 days or however many long these extra special sessions are, it's hard to understand in that short of a period with a budget the way we do in Texas, where your money's really going and where the waste is. And that's what I think is really important to understand.
Yeah.
I think what will be really cool, because this is an open seat and we have some good candidates that we're going to interview all three. I think it'll give an education to our audience of what exactly does the comptroller do? Like, this is exciting to me to think, why aren't we doing these things already? Right.
So, and look, we're doing some. Look, this is the CFO of the state, right? I mean, this is what you do. So, I think we do some. There's always room for improvement. Texas is in better shape than the federal government. I will give us those kudos because I think policy-wise and historically, we've had different people at different agencies or legislators who've said, we're going to look at this. But I think you need to look at it with fresh eyes and be more aggressive about it. People want to know where their dollars are. And it didn't just look at it with fresh eyes, but be much more transparent. That's what we've done. If you go look at the Railroad Commission now, every single well is out there. If we've inspected them. We put it all online. That's where this information ought to rest. It's your information because we're paying the taxes for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being more transparent, it also gives you more efficiencies on the back end in an agency too. You're not having to go chase something. Your dollars are sitting because you know where it is. And to me, it's not just transparency, but it's also more efficiencies. So I said we're now 48 days, right? 48 hours, I guess, to get a drilling permit. You got people paying taxes to the comptroller. They may get an audit. It may be 3 to 5 years before the audit's finished. That's worse than the IRS at this point. What are we doing? And it's dollars that a lot of them, small business dollars,
right.
They're sitting that they can't reinvest or use for payroll or use for other dollars. That's not efficient. That's not transparent. That's not how it ought to work. This ought to be a customer-friendly agency.
Oh,
You're the customer. I'm a customer. The taxpayers are the customers.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Very good.
I have one more question. Do you have any more? Because we're about out of time. Okay. So we talked about how Huffines clearly has the money, right? And then there's Hancock, who was appointed. How does that affect your race? How do you feel like you're doing in the race? Like, where do you stand?
Look, money's a piece of it. Again, appointment, fine. I'm a statewide elected official. We've been out, we've developed a lot of relationships, and we're continuing to do so. We're going to have enough money for this race.
Okay.
And we're going to be very competitive in this race. Does it go to a runoff? I don't know. We're going to be in the runoff.
But the appointment that the governor appointed Kelly Hancock to fill the position in the interim, do you think that is an asset to Kelly's campaign? Or
I don't know.
Maybe it depends on who you ask. Do you like Abbott or do you not?
And it's not just about one person. Who has the better ideas and who's out communicating what they want to do? I don't know what the other two, they're communicating. It's nice to have money. It's nice to have an endorsement, but I don't think that's the end all be all in a race. I think it's people need to know who you are, need to know what you're about and what you're for and what you're going to do. And what you've already done, by the way.
And that's actually a perfect segue to wrap it up, because what I want you to do is tell everybody where they can get more information. I'm assuming you have a website with your endorsements and all these things.
I do. So we're on Facebook. We're on all the social stuff. So it's ChristiCraddick.com and Christi Craddick for Comptroller.com.
Tell them how that you spell your name.
That's right. It's ChristiCraddick. So ChristiCraddick.com and Christi Craddick for Comptroller.com. So we encourage you to go look at our website and look at our Facebook, follow us on X, and we're putting new stuff out every day.
That's fantastic. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
This is a race that we're going to have to put a lot of thought into, and our endorsements won't come out until probably November sometime. So it'll be a little while, but hopefully this will get all of our viewers on track for making their own decisions.
Great. And we look forward to hearing from people. If you've got questions, you want us to come visit with you, we'd love to do all of the above. So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we'd like to thank all three of our candidates for Texas Comptroller for speaking with our True Texans today. We hope that you learned something from that and that you will take it under advisement and make wise choices when you go to the ballot box in March. So for now, finish your research and we'll see you at the election.
All right. Here's to Texas.
And here's to True Texans.
Thanks, everyone.